Hello, my badass boys and badass babes. It's your favorite bad girl of the Black Hills, Virgo the Vixen. And I order you for your homework to hit your likes and subscribe buttons down below. Today, we're going to be talking about back to school issues. Now, for a lot of us who have kids, back to school is a time when we have to get kids ready, buy school supplies. It's that time of year where parents secretly celebrate the fact that we get to drop our kids back off at school. I'm no exception. And for the record, I have two daughters. The first one, Ava, who I call the Spanish Chihuahua, and also her younger sister, Leona, or as I call her, the good daughter. Now today I have a couple stories to tell you, one involving the Spanish Chihuahua, one involving the good daughter. Okay. So basically, when you send your kids to school, you have to prepare them. And what do I mean by that? Well, guess what? Bullying happens. It's not right, it's not fair, but it happens. So, this is how it all got started. We're going to start with Ava. I sent her to school, first day of the year. I think she was, second grade. And here some kids were telling her that her mom was a hoe. She comes home crying. I'm at home. I ask her, honey, what's wrong? And this is what my little girl tells me. She goes, Mom, all the kids at school are saying you're a hoe. Okay, first of all, making my daughter cry, my maternal instincts kick in. And I wanted to go to school and start punching kids. Now, can I do this? No. Or so I've been told by a judge or two, allegedly. Not saying anything about where I learned this information or how I know this information. All I'm saying is don't do it, okay? So I have to repress that emotion, and I listen to my daughter, and she tells me, this whole story about these three bullies picking on her, telling her that I'm a hoe and all this other stuff. She comes home crying. And so I said, honey, listen, Mama loves you. But this is how you handle the situation, okay? First of all, for the record, I taught my daughters to be fighters. Whether it came through verbal or physical I want to rephrase that. Through verbal or physical confrontation. God, my brain is just not here today. I do apologize. But anyways, use the right level that is presented to you. In this case, verbal. So I taught her some things to say. She goes back to school. And sure enough, I get a call from the principal the very next day. And this is what happened. Okay, my daughter goes to school. I prepared her. I trained her to handle any, verbal attacks. All right, the same three bullies come up. The leader, and we'll just call him Ken, decides to tell my daughter again, ha, your mom is a hoe. My daughter, after I taught her, says this to the young man. Ha, my mom says your daddy has a small wee-wee and your mom can't satisfy him. Wow, okay, that was a great comeback. I don't care what parent you are on old school, new school, that was a hell of a great comeback, which kind of got me into trouble because that boy starts crying. I can't believe it. He starts crying. This, tough bully cries about how his dad has a small wee-wee. There might have been a few other things my daughter said, but I'm not going to get into that. At least not right now. Anyways, I get called into the principal. And here's my daughter. She looks a little sad, but she also has an evil grin on her face. Okay, you have to understand something. My daughter Ava ratted me out on a couple times to the diocese. And apparently, it started with her ratting me out to the principal. As I've always taught her, blame your dad. Don't blame me. Don't get me into this. Always blame your dad for it. Even though he's no longer in the picture, God rest his soul. But anyways, don't blame mommy. Little girl gets me in trouble because I get called into the principal's office. The principal tells me exactly what my daughter said. Now, did she say yes, that guy had a small wee-wee and that mommy couldn't satisfy him? Yes. This is what she also said, and I told her, and I didn't teach her this part, but this is where she gets me into a lot more trouble. My daughter starts bragging mommy up, okay? Here's what she says to them. Yeah, my mommy's the best thing to ever happen to your daddy. Your daddy is grateful, should be grateful that my mommy even took him into his bedroom. I could have killed my own daughter. I love her, but God, she got me into so much trouble that day. But needless to say, those bullies did stop for a while, and a couple of them actually had to go into therapy. And along with a couple or two that might have had a couple divorce proceedings. But anyways, they stopped bullying her. That's the point. Now I'm going to talk about the good daughter, Leona. Now, Leona had some similar situations around when she was in around the first, second grade as well. And once again, same scenario. She comes home crying, and I look at her, and again, same scenario. This time, bullies were saying that I was a hoe, and my daughter is crying. She goes, Mom, what am I supposed to do? I really want to punch these guys. And it's like, honey, you can't physically hurt them, okay? That's wrong. They didn't try to physically attack you, so you can't physically hurt them. But if they try to punch you, you're more than happy to lay them out and curb stomp them, okay? Mommy will back you up 100%. So I teach her what to say, and my daughter, Leona, the good daughter, oh God, just saying with her, she is the smart ass of the two. There is no question. Anyone who is the smart ass, it would be her. Ava is the fighter. She's the smart ass. So God bless. I got, a variety of children here. But anyways, here's what Leona did. All right. So they said, the line, your mom's a hoe, blah, 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 whatever. And I love my daughter, Leona, for saying this. And I kid you not. Here's what she said. She goes, well, at least my mother has standards unlike yours. My mom wouldn't take a hippopotamus like your father into her bed. Okay, if it would have just stopped there, I would have been okay with that. But not Leona. Leona decided she was going to make this a roast of all the bullies. Because she started at the first one, the leader, with it, hey, my mom has standards. She wouldn't touch yours. Then she goes to the next bully, and she says she would touch your father if you paid her $1 million, because let's face it, your father has a butter face. He looks good, everything but her face, okay? She didn't understand the term, but she made it nonetheless. Okay. And then the final bully. I could not believe my daughter said this. And I love it. She goes, your father is so butt ugly. Dogs will howl at him as he is walking by. Okay, I really don't know what to say. I got called into the principal's office because Leona tried blaming somebody else. But at this point, there was a pattern already established, and so they're going to blame me no matter what. So I get called into the principal's office. I'm told this story, and at this point, I am in tears because I am laughing so hard at what the principal is yelling at me, saying, how can you raise your daughters to be like this? And I tell the principal very simply put that they're strong young women, and we're not going to take the abuse of a bunch of impotent young men who haven't grown up yet. Or I'm just really paraphrasing because the words I actually used were a bunch of little dickless wonders who one day all they can do is just play with their junk. But needless to say, I did teach my daughters to stand up for themselves. So I guess today's life lessons, or in conclusion of, if you're going to teach your kids, to stand up for themselves, make sure that they blame other people and not you, because guess what? Getting called into the principal's office to explain your action really isn't all that fun. Well, my badass boys and badass babes, when you send your kids off to school, of course, you always want to make sure they're safe. And guess what? Who's your vixen then? Bye-bye.